2026 comp plan that's due next year, and I'm a firm believer you make great decisions with the best informations. And so this data that we're gathering, this information that we're gathering, will help county council and also our planning department and planning commission to form the 2026 comprehensive land use plan. And that is required by the state that we do it every 10 years. And we're looking forward to Ms. Wilson's already started having some meetings on that, and the rest of the districts will have some soon. So stay tuned on that, and please like Anderson County on Facebook. That's one of the best ways that you can get information about what's going on. So without further ado, I would like to start, and I think the easiest way to do this is through numerical order. And so if we would, start with School District 1, if y'all would come on up. So Dr. Wilson, we'll start with Anderson 1, and being a product, along with Mr. Christopher, of School District 1. And I've seen the explosive growth that we've had in Council District 6 and School District 1. And we've got your numbers here of capacity, where you are. Right now, what do you see as your biggest challenge looking down the road 10 years from today?
As y'all probably know, we have over 2,200 homes already approved in our district. We've got a couple of large subdivisions in the Red area, one really large subdivision in Connersville, and then right there in Williamston, 250 homes being built in a subdivision beyond the smaller divisions that are being built. We have some older schools. The capacity is a real concern for us. As you probably know, we've got 7 elementary schools. We have 1 primary school, 3 middles, and 3 high schools. We had a referendum in 19 that allowed us to add some classroom space, particularly in the Ren and Palmville area at that time. We've seen a lot more growth in Palmetto than we had in the past. We weren't expecting that growth, but the way it's coming. All of the extra building that we did as a part of that 19 referendum for the taxpayers that are going to approve, it's full. So you probably are aware, but not maybe we're in the process a year into building another elementary school in the Pikeville area. We hope to be in that school next year. When school starts, it will allow us to take those schools that have 850 kids in 3 schools to be able to divide those out amongst those 3 schools, so we don't end up having 1,000 kids in an elementary school. Our other big concerns is we have 2 high schools that were built in the early 1970s that are in pretty bad shape. If you look at the numbers, a high school, full-fledged building of a high school is going to be in that between 100 and 150 million, depending on what you do with it. Our elementary school is a $50 million project. Part of our concerns is we would really like to see the county get with the realtors and builders. We've had a great response from realtors and builders calling us and say they'd love to get at the table to develop a plan around growth in our county. You know, what can we take? Infrastructure, what can they take? One of the things that we have real concerns about is actually we've been building these schools, the amount of road requirements of bringing roads up to snuff. Years ago, the state would come alongside, and the county had a little money to come alongside and help with that. We've seen less of that. Now, the water, powerful water we deal with is asking us to spend, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on great water systems and things like that. So, thinking ahead and planning for those things, knowing we're going to build another 4,000 houses in Anderson School District 1 in the next 3 years, would be really helpful for us to go to the state and say, we know we're going to have these houses, these are the areas, what can you do to help us in building roads from the state perspective? Can we get some grants to help with bringing water? Because, after we did that, it's also going to help industry when they come in those areas that will already have capacity for water for those and capacity for growth. I will mention that one of the things a lot of areas have done is impact fees. We talked about that. did not go the way we were hoping it would go. A good friend of mine in Fort Mill is the school district that we're all chasing. There's lots of reasons for that. They're number one in every grade, in almost every category every year. And part of that is funding. They just passed, get this, an impact fee for individual houses in Fort Mill for $29,600 per home and $18,000 per apartment. I'm not suggesting anything around those numbers, but that's pretty amazing that it has not dampened the growth in Fort Mill at all. They had, before that, they had, I believe it was $13,000, something like that, $13,000 per home, $18,000, I'm sure it was. And that $18,000, they continue to explode. So we as school districts think at some point that is part of the answer. None of us want to raise taxes. I mean, the only way we can build school is to get the community to come alongside us and say, yeah, we're willing to pay some extra taxes to build those schools. And it's really hard. We were able to build our new school without having to do a referendum. We were able to put 8% money together, and then it was a schedule, but it was not a significant tax increase, which you can do that a little bit, but you cannot do that for $100 million, $200 million when you have to go to high school. So those are our concerns. I mean, we've always had a great relationship with the county. We're not complaining. We appreciate it. They'll always be willing to work with us and help us. And those are the things that I would say probably manage too much respect.
And I want to thank you because, and I watch, what school districts, participate in the planning part and coming to the planning commission meetings, and I know school district 1 and other school districts have always had a presence there. And as most of you know, we council this past year we passed an ordinance that said that made it possible for developers to have communication with the school districts, and I think that was a big step in Forest County Council taking to bring the school districts into the discussions whether or not you could handle that said development. So I think that was a big thing.
We've had some great discussions in the last 6 months with a number of developers. We've met with both Anderson County and Greenville County Builders Association folks, and they've just been very open to say, we get it. We can't quit building, but we get it needs to be a planned process. And they're very open to sit at the table with us and then have those conversations when the time comes.
Dr. Wilson, is there anything that council that you can think of that council, and I'll ask all of you the same question, is there anything that council that we could do to help as we look down the road 10 years?
I definitely think that, and I know it's a funding issue, that the infrastructure is a real issue with roads and utilities and things like that, that oftentimes, and then there's situations where you may have an industrial park right down the road from the school. They're not having to pay for roads again, and their trucks are on it all the time destroying roads. But we're going to be the ones that are going to have to repave all those roads because they're going to put more cars on it. So nothing that we can do about that now. But thinking ahead is as we think about funding. And y'all know there's so many. I don't know y'all talk transportation tax. I appreciate that. I would be also, but not everybody did apparently. So I will continue to ask y'all to continue to try to do that because I know it's a funding issue. So that's just one of the things that we really struggle because it's all about money. Whether we get it for a 1 cent tax or we have to tax our people in our community to be able to do those things, it's all public money. And roads are public good. I mean, everybody that drives on the roads is going to need that. So we're happy to come and partner with y'all anyway on those kind of things. But it's not because y'all haven't tried to do that. So that's not a concern or complaint. It's just those are things that we would certainly come to the table with you guys if there's anything we could do.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah.
Is this working? And I know that Wren area, the Wren Middle, Wren High, everything is just so congested right there. But with the 3 high schools do you have, is there room just to add on, maybe Palmetto or anything, or are you looking at a new structure?
We have some space. Our plan would probably be, we would have to address probably Palmetto and Wren some at the same time. As you may or may not know, as a part of our 19 referendum, we were able to rebuild on our same sites by tearing areas down. A lot of the things our architects are saying, they're just some of those, I mean, the buildings are built in the 70s, you're just going to have to replace those. We have some newer wings that we would not tear down, things that were built in the 90s. I mean, we would definitely keep that wing and build around those. It's a little more expensive sometimes to try to build around things, but it's certainly more cost effective than having to add 24 classrooms that you already have. So we would probably look at the same sites. As y'all know, the property is so expensive. Anything in our district, and builders will tell you that we don't have a lot of industry because the businesses can't afford the property in our district because it's so much more expensive than it might be somewhere else. So that's why we're not getting a lot of industry in Anderson 1. And y'all know that's tax issues. Now, owner-occupied homes are no longer paying for maintenance operations of schools. It's the businesses that are paying for that. That was the state's doing it. We don't even have a lot of opportunity to have new income coming in without having those businesses, and they're just not willing to pay for that property. So property would be our big issue. We don't know that we could need 50 to 70 acres and try to get that kind of prime property with all the requirements you would have to have. We think probably our current sites would be where we would be and just tear things down and build back up. I mean, we got some old stadiums and old, field houses, the whole 9 yards. It's just, like a lot of us have, we just kind of duct it together every time we can and keep things rolling. So,
Just real quick, and you said the estimate on building new high schools, was that each?
I mean, some folks are involved in that.
I know, Mitch.
We've talked with them, and we're talking $150 million on the Loveland property.
Each.
So we're talking each. So we're building 2 high schools tomorrow with the complete high schools with everything they need. Today, we can look at about $300 million. And that's probably out of our range to be able to get the taxpayers to approve at this point. So we'll have to piece it together.
Y'all have any other questions for Dr. Williams?
Very quickly, it seemed that the impact fee proposal had a flaw in it, and that was that people who already owned their property, building a personal residence was going to be having to pay the impact fee too, and that didn't seem fair. I did try to get Representative Ann Thayer to get that exemption through down in Columbia, and she didn't get much traction. But it seems to me, because I'm also a real estate broker, it would seem prudent to do that because folks who've bought their land and saved their money to build their home, they shouldn't have to pay an impact fee.
I won't speak for everybody, but I'll just say we are open to have whatever those conversations need to be. We would be open, I think, to talk about, what the impact fee may look like. Now we look different for 10 years, maybe that we may say, yeah, if you've already bought the property and you get before this thing goes, if you get a building permit, whatever, we would exempt somebody that built one house on, and there are lots of ways we can do that to not burden. The whole idea to try to get the homeowners to understand from impact fee, really, the intent is, it's all the people moving in, particularly from out of state that are coming in and buying all these houses up, so we don't have, that have been here for generations, some of us, that we don't have to, have the burden of paying for all this growth. That's the idea behind it, but I know it's a hard thing. But again, unlike when I'll take the responsibility, we probably didn't do a good enough job of getting builders and the builders on board the first time we talked about it. I think we just tried to figure out what to do. We've done a much better job. I think now we would have a realtor association and builders come alongside of us and say, we get it, we understand. It may not be a huge amount of money, but we're willing to work with y'all and help as we build this new building. So I think that's something we can do here in the next couple of years as important for all of us as districts and not just those, because we've got great districts, we have a great relationship with the other districts, and we feel like that we're separate. We're also in some ways one district, all our kids, we trade kids all the time, so our kids are their kids, their kids are our kids.
Y'all got some in the transfer portal?
Oh, yes, sir. High school, we're a little concerned about it. You know, it's going to be a new world in high schools now.
Well, the state impact fee law is a very interesting piece of legislation, and it probably could use some modernization to it, and that would take our friends in Columbia to do that, and that would make it. I believe there could be some changes made that make it more palatable for a lot of people, but the end result is the impact fee reduces the strain on the current tax base that we have. The people that's been here all these years paying property taxes, it would reduce that burden on their shoulders and put it on the people coming in here. Whether you like that or not, that's up to your personal preference, but that's really the bottom line of it. Does anybody else have any questions for Dr. Wilson?
No, Dr. Wilson was way smarter than I am, so I'll probably talk much less. So I'll just respond to kind of what you.
Sure, absolutely.
First of all, and I'm not going to speak for everybody at the table, although I think they feel the same way. I'm very appreciative that the county council wants to open up this dialogue. And y'all know as well as I do, we want to be a district that offers a excellent education because we want to attract those families that value education. So conversations like this are very important. Appreciate it. One of the concerns, what it looks like in our district, we're not growing as fast as we want, or is 4, we're a little bit more rural. We do have 4 subdivisions that have been approved. We don't know the timeline with them. Probably the biggest challenge we have, similar to what one has, is just the wear and tear of the infrastructure and needing to replace the aging infrastructure, roads, water systems, specifically sewage systems. There has been some developers that have desired to come in, but because those systems cannot handle that burden, that's kind of made some of them not be able to come in. Probably the second thing for us also is just aging facilities in general. Most of our schools, actually all 7 of our schools, we have 7 schools, 4 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, and a high school. They were all originally built in the 50s and 60s. Our 2 middle schools are in need of the most repair, and so we're currently going through a facility study to determine the scope of that work, and then we'll have to go through all of our schools, probably our high schools in best shape. So that'll be an incurred cost. The 1 cent sales tax has been the biggest financial blessing ever. And hopefully our county will support it again in 2030. 20% of all of that money collected actually goes to reduce the tax burden of our homeowners, which is one of the things I remind my folks of is if it is not approved in 2030, the first thing that you'll notice is that your property tax will go up. And for the most part, just because we have so much interstate in our county, that is other states or other counties' money that is going toward classrooms for our children. And so that has been a huge benefit.
Anything that we can do to just offer?
Collectively, if all 5 districts got on the same page to put together, like you said, a more palatable impact fee, that would be a huge benefit. The reason that all the construction that Dr. Wilson was talking about, that's because people who are not here are moving here. So I think it's very reasonable to offer them an opportunity to help fund the expanding classrooms that is necessitated by their glorious life.
Any questions from my fellow councilman?
They voted to do the studies on the 2 middle schools. Has that started yet, or?
Yes, sir. That's a great question, Mr. Rick. So they started 3 weeks ago. We've given all our test dates, and they're going to be in the school mostly after hours and on weekend until summer starts. We have an anticipation of getting their final report in June, which will share with all our community.
For Henderson Fulmer. I lived in 5 other counties over 30 years, and got the opportunity to come back home 4 years ago, and very pleased to be back home. My parents are happy that I'm back home. As they grow a little bit older, but I did grow up what we said when I was growing up. I grew up over in the Renton community. And really feel like I got saved back to Anderson County and to be in a new place. And what I found is we've got great people, but we've got challenges that our local area has never had. And growth is part of that. Just like the other 4 districts in the district, in the county, we deal with population that isn't just growing, but we also have a large number of students in poverty that we deal with, that we get the honor to educate. And I'm proud of the work that we do as a county, not just District 4, but all 5 districts. Growth is our biggest issue, and I guess it will be for some time to come. I would put us probably 30 years behind where District 1 is with growth, but we also have about 20 miles of interstate in our district. And that interstate draws on. So we're seeing 3 different places where growth is occurring in our district. One is down 187 Wild Road, which y'all know has had an influx of new homes. We've got the town of Pendleton, which I think was strategic on their part to grow themselves and to annex some areas that were new developments. And then we've got around the interstate. We know right now, out just across from Ray on the highway, there's 400 homes going in. We've got another 400 that just got approved down Wild Road. All of that, and I think 3 years ago we were at about 3,000 homes in a 5-year period. That's down now, so that's been built out. But, we started in 2021, not long after I arrived in District 4. Conducted our own facility study and an enrollment study. And one of the things that was interesting to me, I had been in a place that was growing. I was in Fort Mill for almost 15 years, and being in a place that was growing so rapidly, there were times when I was growing 10 or 12% in my student population in a year. Being in a place like that, there is some history going on. Well, in Anderson 4, there wasn't any history of growth to the magnitude that we've seen. And the interesting part is, right now, it's manageable. When you're talking about 2 or 3%, you can handle it. Especially when you go to the public and you say, hey, we need to do this. We need to build new schools. We need to add on to some schools because we're going to run out of space. And the community supports you in that. And so in 2023, when we asked our community, our taxpayers to come alongside us for $115 million bond referendum. In 2017, we had a failed bond referendum of about $70 million. And for our community to say yes to that, because we see what's going on in our district, even though I view it as manageable a little bit right now, it's going to get to a point where it's not. And so for them to have that vision along with us was key. I'll say this, Mr. Burns and his staff at the county have been integral to us understanding, giving us opportunities to have input into where things are going, when they're going there. One of the things that's helped us is that some things get slowed down and don't get fast-tracked. I mean, I'm thinking off of Hurricane Road right now, there's pipes in the ground for 150 houses or so, townhouses. I think that's been that way for about 2.5 years. And I don't know if that's because they don't have money for it yet, or maybe the investment's not there, I don't know. But those pipes are in the ground, those are ready to have homes for young families to feeding our schools. So I appreciate the help that they give us. But the thing that our enrollment and our facility study did in 2023 was it gave us the best projection that we could possibly give at the time for what's going to happen in our school district. And we've seen that over the last 3 years, where we're growing roughly 3% a year, which for us is not what it would be in District 1 or District 5. But 100 students to us is significant, because you're spreading those over, you are spreading them over 6 schools. But our high school, Little Pendleton High School, which had probably 600 students in it, 700 students. When I was a high school student, it has 940 students in it. Nobody would ever thought that. And so we're building a new Pendleton High School. We're building it for 1,200 seats. We're building it for a 1,500 student cohort. We think that will get us out past the next 10 years at that facility. We're moving our middle school, which only houses 7th and 8th grade currently, moving them out of the oldest facility in our district that was built in the 1950s, moving them into the current high school, doing some renovations there, and we're moving our 6th grade to our middle school campus as well. And both of those campuses are now in the center of our district, will be in the center of our district. Instead of Riverside, which is about a mile from Clemson, which made travel to and from difficult for a lot of our families. So that helps. Then we're also building on to our fastest growing school is actually Pendleton Elementary, but that school is in a former high school. They've got room, about 200 more students that can fit in there. We're building on it in Mount Lebanon, which is sitting around the interstate. The building around there has really impacted Mount Lebanon. And then the impact around Wildfire Road is Little France Elementary. So we're building on there, but we're also gaining some space in our elementaries when we move our 6th grade to our middle school. So we think our plan's pretty good. We're pleased with our direction in 26, 27, and we open all these facilities up. We will be about 70% or less in our schools. And that gives us a little bit of room for a time, at least a time until I'm retired. I can assure you of that. I'm not doing another referendum. Took years off my life. But that's where we stand. We're striving to be the best that we can possibly be. Dr. Wilson said that about Fort Mill, and I was lucky enough to be there for a while. And there was one grade level they don't beat everybody in the state, and that's 6th grade, because Anderson 4 beat their tails last year in 6th grade. The last couple of years in 6th grade, so I'm proud of that. As far as the impact fees, I think the challenge for county council is I so agree with family land and rebuild a home. That's not the same impact as a 150 home neighborhood that's on farmland. I totally agree with that. And if there was a way around that, I would certainly be in favor of that. But I think the challenge for us is we've got 5 very unique school districts. And the impact in District 1 is different than it is in District 4 right now. That may not always be the case, but it is. I would even say that the impact in District 5 is different than it is on District 4. So that working through some of that, I think, would be important to you. I saw, as Dr. Wilson mentioned, I saw the new impact fee in Fort Mill went up to $11,000. And they thought in 2018, when they went to $18,000, they thought it was going to slow things down. And I'll just give you a quick statistic. When I got there, I was the only high school principal in the school district. We had 7,000 students. When I left in the fall of 2020, we had over 17,000 students. And I moved up to third high school in that district. That's growth that's really difficult to deal with. We've got a chance here. I think District 1 has the biggest challenge. But I think all of us are going to get it. And I think that interstate, as things start continuing to grow between Atlanta and Charlotte, and as people don't mind that drive, they want a little bit more land, they're going to start coming out our way. And I don't know, that's, again, I think we're about 30 years behind.
You're the most recent to do a bond referendum successfully. And now that progress is being made, the school's being built, and now that everybody's seen the first round of property taxes, is the sentiment, I know it was a close vote, wasn't it like 51-49 when it?
It was a little bit better, but we overachieved. It was about a 3% chance.
Okay, okay.
I didn't use the word overwhelmingly, like wanted to. But yeah, the impact of that, I felt like we were as transparent and upfront as a district as we could possibly be. The impact was $64 on a $100,000 house. It was a total of 16 meals is what we were projecting. We're going to hopefully at the end of October be able to say that number was, that millage increase was not 16, it was more like 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's the cause of the growth that's occurring. We felt like that was going to happen, and we told people this is what we feel like is going to happen, but we couldn't judge it happen. We've had one round, as you said, in October. We'll have another round this October, and we've committed. We paid off some debt this fall that we were not planning to pay off. We decided let's go and get that out of the way, which I think is going to help us down the road as well. It'll help us with our accreditation agencies already. So yeah, I think people are excited about it. We have an aggressive timeline on it. We will end up spending less than $100 million on a 240,000 square foot facility. I've just started doing numbers of ways that we have avoided some costs. And I'll be honest with you, if there's a way for us not to take all that $115 million and do less, then we're going to try to do that.
And one thing to piggyback on that, is the big difference between District 1 and yours, the lake property, a lot of non-owner occupied property that's helping out? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, and we have more industry.
Right.
We have more industry, but I think we do. And our district's index of tax dependability is greater than everybody else's in the county, the other 4 districts. We get less state money than the other 4 districts do. And it's because we've got a really good mixture of industry and homes. And as Dr. Wilson spoke about, we don't pay taxes for school operations. If it's per owner occupied, my home pays 4%, and I don't pay school taxes, except on our debt service. So yeah, I think that's the biggest. I think that's the biggest difference in the two of us. Arthrex has made a tremendous impact on us. And I won't even talk about fee and lieu, if y'all want me to. I've talked to Mr. Burns plenty about fee and lieu, so he's aware of that. I know the balance between fee and lieu and what we as school districts need. But our industry partners are fantastic. Michelin, Arthrex, London Magnum, Milliken, those folks have been great for our school district.
And Mr. Grant, I have what y'all sent in to us. So
Good evening. As I mentioned earlier, I'm standing with Dr. Kelly. She has hoped to make it. She's not going yet still. I would just like to, Chief Operating Officer for Anderson School District 5, and I would just like to echo what we've heard already, but we'd like to stay at the council. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to come and speak to you and to listen to us. You guys are doing a great job in our county, and the great job that you're doing also brings growth. So I suppose that's a good thing. I just appreciate you guys trying to help us manage it appropriately. For Anderson School District 5, we share in the same comments we've heard. Our goal is to create a successful school system to teach kids in our county and our district so that our students and families get the best education possible that we can serve to them. We are grateful for the sales tax that was passed in 2014. That has been a game changer. In Anderson School District 5, we've got nearly 3 million square feet of heated space, and when you have that type of space, you can think about that as you own your own homes. There's a lot of maintenance costs associated with maintaining spaces like that. That sales tax money gives us a great opportunity to do things in those spaces that we need to create the best learning environments that we can for our kids. It is an honor to teach kids in Anderson School District 5. For those of you that maybe aren't as familiar with our district, our two high schools are T.L. Hanna and Westside High School. We're primarily in the city, and we stretch out into the rural areas of the county, but it comes out from the city. And we're as far as our growth, we as you mentioned before, every 5 years, typically, unless we see great changes, we engage in a enrollment forecasting study, a facility study. We had the opportunity to do that less than a year ago, and that study basically for Anderson School District 5 showed us that our enrollment is projected to stay steady over the next 10 years. So it's good to see that, and obviously that's a snapshot in time that they took 12 months ago. So we all know there's new developments that's coming out Midway Road, and you see those things that wasn't factored in 12 months ago that we have to stay in tune with now. We're very in tune with those movements, and I'd like to thank the council for giving us that opportunity to be aware of those new developments that's coming through. Mr. Davis mentioned that a moment ago. It is very helpful to see those developments being proposed, to at least have an opportunity to know that they're coming forward, so thank you for that. It gives us an opportunity to plan and prepare for that. I think a lot of the things that I was planning to say have been said. I just want to thank you guys for all that you do. But for Anderson School District 5, our enrollment is a little different. The growth we're seeing in School District 1, and I would say even perhaps School District 4, in that our student enrollment right now is steady. In fact, from last year to this year, we've dropped slightly in enrollment. But the 10-year projection is for that to slowly increase to 1%.
Enrollment, but a growing population. Do you attribute the reduction in enrollment to homeschooling and private schools? What?
Best, and that his primary reason, and he's the professional that did this for us, is the age of the in-migration.
I'm sorry, do what?
It was the age of the in-migration. They weren't child rearing that we were seeing. And granted, it's 12 months ago. There's been developments that have happened since those 12 months. And that was based on permits that were pulled at that time. I think there are small numbers of people that are homeschooled, but I think it's just the migration pattern, the ages of those migration patterns for us.
I mean, I think a lot of people in here understand that a lot of y'all schools are in the city of Anderson, and there's no hiding it. Some of what the city of Anderson has kind of done with some of the annexation and things that go out of the control of Anderson County and the Anderson County Planning Commission. So, I mean, I think that's a challenge too that you guys face that really, I know District 1, we don't have anything incorporated. So I know that's a challenge for you folks, and you're kind of blindly going into the future because you really don't know what they're going to do next.
We do appreciate the city of Anderson and the county of Anderson. Both groups are really helpful in sharing information with us, with developments and things that might be in the pipeline that we could plan for. So we do appreciate that.
So I have a daughter that's a senior at Hannah, And the senior class, what I grew up as a senior class where everybody was in school together and you hang out before school all together. Now with this dual enrollment, it seems like the senior class is vacant. Like where what you think would be in this number of 400 seniors, it feels like 200 of them or more between Anderson University and Tri-County taking college credit classes, and they'll come to Hannah and take one. And then I didn't see AIT on this. I know that's a 3-county split, but the impact of what y'all do with this, well, even juniors, I think, are allowed to do the dual enrollment with the colleges. And the AIT, I see buses coming and going all the time, full of kids going. So what does that impact, the numbers that we're looking at?
We actually took a snapshot recently about, okay, how many students are in TL Hannah at any one time? You know, what's that maximum number look like? But you're right. Some kids may be going to Anderson University, some may be going to Clemson, some may be going to Tri-County Technical College, and internally they may be going to the Anderson Institute of Technology South, but they could be going to any of those places during the day. And the largest number we saw at that time was 1,604. The capacity of TL Hannah is approximately, the target capacity is approximately 1,800. Gives you a little flexibility when you have those opportunities from a programming standpoint, where those students can have the opportunity to take those courses elsewhere, which we're grateful for this market.
I hate it for the camaraderie of the class, but getting college credits at that price is a great thing for a parent.
Parents love it. Yes.
Anything else for Mr. Grant? Thank you. One of the things I wanted to kind of ask you all, since we're all, and I'm thankful that we're all here, is, and I hear this a lot in my district, and maybe my fellow council representatives do as well, but there is a great concern for housing for teachers, and making sure that our teachers can live in the communities they teach in, that they educate in. This ideas on how we can better do that, I think, is something that we could work together towards and figure out ways that we can work with the school districts and planning and development to make sure that we have adequate housing for our teachers, and I'll throw first responders in there as well. And I think that's an important thing that we need to look for down the road, is making sure that people that are taking care of our children have an opportunity to live in the neighborhoods they work and teach in. And I think that's an important thing that I would like to see us work towards. I want to keep the dialogue open, and if we all, I think if we all want to get together with our delegation members and work towards a better impact fee law that's more palatable, I would be more than welcome to be a part of that discussion, because I think it's important, looking down the road, is to lay the groundwork, because as Dee said, I'm not planning on being here forever, but I want to leave it better. And how do we work to get there? And that's why we're here tonight, to have these kind of conversations. And I look forward to working with y'all. I mean, if as we look towards our comprehensive land use plan next year, how do we put these kind of ideas in that, and how do we make sure we have housing for teachers? Because it's important to me that we leave that legacy, to make sure that when someone wants to teach in any of these school districts, that they have an opportunity to be able to purchase a house and live there.
Well, I just say, I think it's a really good start, us having direct communication with some of those developers, as several have talked about. Us having an opportunity to say, yes, we're going to have space in that school for the next 3 years or in 2 years or whatever. That's been helpful for us. Everybody seems to know now. 26, 27, there's going to be some space in District 4. I don't want everybody in the state or everybody out of state. But we do have that, and we're prepared for that. And I'm very pleased that we're going to be prepared for that.
Well, when talking about affordable housing, the big national companies building the sprawling developments, they're in it for profit only. They are LLCs. they build to minimum standards, and that's where the county is constrained by the state. It is a conundrum because we're way behind in preparing and planning. We have overwhelming infrastructure needs. It seems our schools are actually probably further along than our roads are.
I do want to mention this, if any of you are not getting the council or planning commission pack, I know Mr. Grant gets one, please see Ms. Watts over here, she'll get you signed up on the email list if you're not getting them currently. Secondly, we recently, council just approved hiring a group to walk us through our development standards. Our development standards are very, very complex, and in our code book, they're everywhere. So I don't want to call it a unified development ordinance, but we're trying to get everything in one place and improve on some of our standards. I'm not going to necessarily say we're tightening the standards, but we're going to put some improvements on there. We're busy trying to make things better. And there's some ebbs and flows in that, of course, but we want to keep this dialogue with the school districts open. This was the main purpose of me hosting these types of meetings, is to keep dialogue. I mean, we're going to talk to the sewer and energy people, and we're going to talk to the land use and land conservation bank type people too, because I think that needs to be an option for people in Anderson County. So the dialogue is open.
Again, I appreciate all y'all being here and talking to us, and anything we can do to help, we'd be glad to as we continue working to try to help. So we're here for you as well, but thank y'all.